Okay, you might be saying, oh my goodness, Ed, I cannot, this is so complicated, this is so hard to do. You're gonna be surprised that we can actually do this whole thing in like a few lines of code. It's gonna be super simple. And this is where the magic of CSS Grid takes place. Okay, so let's move back to the codes. Okay, and what we want to do is just create a gallery section. So down here, right after this big old about section, you can actually click on this and you can see where it ends, which is really cool. So if I click on this, you're going to see that this closes here. And we actually did a mistake here because for some reason, I did not close this div. So as you can see, I don't have any highlights. So let's take a look. This closes. This closes here, which is fine. But what is this? If I click on it, nothing happens. So I need to change this to section. Hit save. And let's see, did it break anything? No, we are still good. But now if I click on it, section about, okay, it closes. So everything is proper and working. Now sometimes HTML might do it for you, like it might not throw an error or you might not see any change, but it's always good to fix up these small issues. So hey, there's one that I found that I didn't even realize, but it's good we found it. Okay, let's move down here and let's create a gallery section. And here it's gonna be super simple. All I'm gonna do is just drop in all of these pictures. I even named them gallery 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 4. 4 we have. So let's just drop these 4 in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Perfect. Let's also give them a name. Class, I'm gonna give it the same name. So gallery 1. Okay? Now I'm gonna copy this over here. Gallery 2, gallery 3, and gallery 4. Here as well, 2, 3, 4. Okay, Alt, let's do one man in suit, and then lady in coat. All right. Then we have a lady in the dark coat, I think. Lady in the dark coat, or what, or t-shirt, and then the other thing. Lady in t-shirt. These are terrible. I am so sorry. T-shirt. And then we have lady in a jacket or something. Okay, I apologize for this. You can find better alternative names. But yeah, let's take a look at CSS Grid. So let's go back here, style.css. Let me move above the media query. I'm just gonna add one here called gallery. All right, now watch the magic. I'm gonna take that gallery class, so the parent, and let's take a look by default what we have. So it just goes one next to each other like this, right? Now I picked out images that have this style, but I wanna let you know that if you pick pictures of the internet and you still want to achieve this style, you don't have to have these pictures like this. So maybe one like super landscape like this, or one super portrait, one super landscape. You can have all of them as squares and everything is still gonna look fine. And the reason why I picked this out like so long is because eventually we're gonna add object fit cover, and when you stretch that out, we might not see her face anymore. So this is just kind of like the purpose of it was so we can see everything. Okay, so let's see. All we have to do, you ready? We don't add display flex anymore. We add display grid. Exactly. Display grid. Good. That's not gonna do anything. Let's add a height 100 VH, min height like that. And then what I'm gonna do is say grid, template, columns. I'm gonna say repeat 3 times 1FR. So I wanna have a 3-column layout. If we take a look here, we have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let me kind of visualize this for you. So you can look at where the pictures are. Well, we have 1 here because that's where that picture lies. We have 2 and 3. Okay, so repeat the same size, 1FR 3 times. Hit save, let's take a look. And by default, as you can see, it just kind of drops in the content one next to each other like this. Okay, this gets dropped down because it doesn't have any space anymore. Okay, so what do I want? Well, I want this one to be stretching from here to here. So again, all we have to do is just kind of count the columns. So this one is going to go from 1, 2, because here is the line, as you can see. 1, 2 to 3. So 1, 2, 3. That's what we want to do. So let's get the first image, which we named Gallery 1. And I'm just going to say grid column from 1 to 3. Hit save. Let's take a look. Okay, so it leaves more space here. We can take a look if we press F12. Open up the main. Let's go to the grid. Click on the grid. So 1, 2 to 3. Okay, now it doesn't take up the full size though, but it's correctly in the grid. And this goes from 3 to 4. Okay, and now all of these other contents get dropped down here. Okay, so now I want to specify that this image should be from 3 to 4, but more importantly, it takes up the whole row down here. So 1, 2, 3, because if we take a look, the rows are 2, 1 and 2, all right? So from 3 to 4 in columns and from 1 to 3 in rows. Let's go here. Get the second one, Gallery 2, grid column from 3 to 4 and grid row from 1 to 3. Hit save. Check this out. Everything is positioned perfectly the way we want. Okay, it might be hard to see because we still have to add a width to the images and the height. So let's go back here and do that. I'm gonna grab the gallery images. Width 100%, height 100%, and object fit cover. So as you can see, it doesn't really matter that our pictures didn't take up the full size of our grids, but as soon as we add this little portion of the code, it does. Let's take a look at that. Lovely. Everything works perfectly. So now if I want to switch this around with this, again, we can easily do that just by saying, hey, I want the gallery. This is the 4th image. I can put it to grid column 1 to 2. And this will go from 2 to 3. Okay, but I'm gonna leave it like this, super simple. So take a look how much code we added. This is the whole thing. It's not even much. And this is kind of like we would do this anyways for it to take up the whole size. So this is basically everything. So super cool. And we got everything we needed. Now the problem is once we go a bit smaller, this still looks good. But around the size where things starts resizing, so when this hits this part, maybe I want to change this up. Maybe I want them to kind of automatically take up the size. So how can we make this responsive? Because we haven't talked about making CSS Grid responsive. Well, surprisingly, this gets even simpler. We can do it in like 1 line of code. I know. So all we have to do, take a look, is we can go down here. Actually 2 lines of code, but hey, still not that bad. And we can just go and say gallery here, just to make it clear. So we're inside the media query, gallery. So what I want to do first of all is basically, I'm going to get all the images, gallery images, right? And I don't want to give them a specific grid row and column, right? Because up here, we specify that, hey, you should take up here, this space and this space here and this space here. So here, I'm just going to say, yo, grid row, you know what, auto, and grid column, auto. You figure it out, CSS. Okay, I'm tired of you. You do the trick. Okay, so for now, if we do that, as you can see, it kind of jumps down to a new line, which is kind of nice. And they kind of take up the space a bit responsively. But wouldn't it be nice if we could say something like, yo, if this image gets more squished than like 300 pixels or 300 or 30 rem, it should kind of auto resize itself and create new rows and columns. Okay, so how can we do that? So kind of like flex 1, 1 and 40 rem, and then we add flex wrap. So kind of that same thing. The nice thing is that we don't really need to do that much. We can just grab the parent element, so gallery, and we can just change the grid template columns like this, rather than setting a fixed repeat 3-1FR, right, that's always going to stay the same size, what we can do is use something called repeat, and we say auto fit. All right, and what this does is basically it's automatically going to create the amount of space it needs, or the amount of columns it needs. All right, so we don't really specify a specific number of column. It's just gonna be like, yo, I'm just gonna take up whatever I need to do to fit this grid. So we add auto fit, and now we're gonna use something called min-max. Min-max. And in here, we add another set of parentheses, and what we can do is we can specify a minimum amount that the image should have and a maximum. Okay, so I can do a minimum of something like 20 rem and a maximum of 1 FR. So basically this cannot be any smaller than 20 rem. So when it hits that, it's basically gonna auto fit and jump to a new row, and it's gonna take up the full size. So let's take a look at this, because this is quite interesting. So here we are gonna go into the media query here, and as you can see, it basically, if we go down even smaller, as soon as we reach that 20 rem, it's gonna jump down and create its own rows and columns. So everything is pretty much super responsive here and automatic. So as you can see, now we're in a 2-column layout. And then if we go down even further, it's automatically gonna resize itself and make everything look nice. So how cool is that? Now maybe I don't want it to be so small like this. So what I can do is kind of increase the size of this. So I can be like, hey, don't go any lower than 30 rem. So now if we go smaller, as you can see now it takes up 2. And as soon as we hit a certain point, it's gonna go to 1. So there we go, look at that, automatically resizing super nicely. Now here's a cool thing. If you don't want any fancy layout like this and you just want a responsive image gallery, you don't need to do all of this stuff up here. And where is it? Up here. If you just want a responsive gallery and you want the content to kind of take up its own space, so you can imagine like this being something like, I just have a few images dropped in like this, and I don't want really that layout. So something like, okay, so I just have like a few images and I want to create a grid. I don't even need to mess around with this. I don't need to add grid column template. I don't need to position them anywhere. So you can kind of get rid of everything here and you can just do this. We don't even need this anymore, right? Because we don't have any grid row or column specified on each individual images. So what you would do is you would literally just add this one line of code and you would have a fully responsive gallery, which is just crazy awesome. So literally with one line of code, you can create a fully responsive CSS gallery. Okay, so there we go. Fixed our issue. Did I remove any code? I wasn't even, let's see. Okay, lovely. If we want to add that thing that I mentioned, what we can do is, let's take a look here. We can just drop in, maybe we can create a div or a specific header that's going to be like, I don't remember what we did. Let's take a look here because we kind of modified. My apologies that I kind of move these things around a lot because this is kind of like an experimental kind of fun zone for me. So in here, let's just create a header. I'm going to add quality photography like this. And let's just add maybe a small paragraph down here that's going to say my pictures, my work pictures that I took. No. Please, after I'm done with this episode, please change this to something more interesting, okay? Okay, we can add a class of gallery head to this. Okay, and we can just basically add a position absolute up here, so not in the media query, up here. Gallery head, position absolute. We're gonna say top 50%, left 50%. And again, to move it perfectly in the center, we can do transform, translate, -50 and -50. Okay. Let's see what we have. Oh, we cannot see anything. Well, we need to position this again relative to this image gallery. So to the gallery, position, relative, save. There it is. Okay, let's change the color of it to white. Gallery head, color white. Let's add a background of that var, and it's gonna be background color. And also, so it's not stuck there together like that, let's add a bit of padding. Padding, 10 rem, 20 rem, is that huge? Oh, that's not good. Okay, do 5, 10. Does that work? Way better. Perfect. Let's also add a text-align center. And we are done. So if this is something you want, you can do that. It's always going to be in the center. On mobile, I to be honest, I don't think this looks that good. It looks kind of weird, this plopped in there like that. So what we can do is maybe when we go on mobile, we can kind of just get rid of it. So gallery head. Or what we can also do, actually, maybe we can plop it up here in the corner. That could work as well, or maybe all the way down here. But to be honest, I kind of just wanted to show you this. I don't really want to include it in the final version, but you could do it like this. So down here, I guess we could just remove it on mobile if you guys really want to keep this displaying then. Okay, so plop, it's gone. Wow, awesome. Okay, so there we go. We created the image gallery and it was so nice. So now it's time to move on to the contact section and adding the footer, and take a look. We have a fully awesome, super cool animated website.